Welcome back, everyone, to The Outsider Edge. We're continuing our journey through Dr. Ravier's work, redefining economics, management, and psychology.
That's right. This is our second session this season, and we're diving into the next chapter of his book, Self-Management.
And this time, it's all about creativity, isn't it? How Dr. Ravier sees it as the real engine behind paradigm shifts. Our focus, as always, is purely on unpacking his ideas from this chapter.
Exactly. And he starts off by drawing on someone quite well known, Stephen Covey.
Oh, Covey. Interesting. How does he fit in?
Well, Dr. Ravier highlights Covey's concept of the 5 eras of civilization. Hunter-gatherer, then agricultural-industrial.
Knowledge worker, and then that sort of wisdom era Covey talked about.
Right. Precisely. And the really striking thing Dr. Ravier points out from Covey is this idea of a 50-fold jump in productivity between each era. 50-fold.
Wow. And that kind of leap would cause massive disruption, surely.
Absolutely. Covey noted, and Dr. Ravier emphasizes this, it led to something like 90% of labor migrating between sectors each time. Just imagine the scale of that change.
Okay, so it's not just about different jobs, it's about fundamentally different ways of, producing things, different economic engines.
Yes, but here's the crucial link Dr. Ravier makes, building on Covey. It wasn't just about technology or structure.
It needed a change in thinking, too.
Exactly. A whole new mindset, a different mental framework sort of to even operate effectively in the new reality. The tools changed, but the way people approached problems had to change just as dramatically.
Right, the mental operating system had to upgrade along with the external hardware.
Perfectly put. And this leads directly into a major tension Dr. Ravier explores throughout the book.
Which is?
That even though we're arguably well into this knowledge worker era, a lot of our management thinking, our practices, are still stuck back in the industrial age.
So we have 21st century work being managed with early 20th century ideas.
That's the core argument Dr. Ravier presents, citing Covey. This mismatch, this lag in management thinking, is actually preventing us from unlocking the full potential that the knowledge era offers. It's a bottleneck.
Okay, can we get more specific? What kind of industrial era baggage is he talking about?
Well, think about the classic management approach. The need to control, to direct people very closely.
Command and control.
Yes, and that whole carrot and stick philosophy. Using rewards and punishments as the primary motivators.
Which you can sort of see how that evolved on a factory floor, maybe, with very repetitive manual tasks.
Sure, Dr. Ravier acknowledges its origins with manual labor. But his point, echoing Covey, is that those methods just aren't suited or are even counterproductive when you're dealing with knowledge workers. People whose value lies in their thinking, their creativity, their autonomy.
It's like trying to manage an artist the same way you manage an assembly line.
Exactly. And Dr. Ravier points out that this isn't some radical fringe idea. He notes there's actually wide agreement in management academia about this.
That command and control is outdated.
Yes. Theoretically outdated. It traces back to Frederick Taylor, scientific management from way back in 1911. Academics have critiqued it for ages, but Dr. Ravier observes it still has a massive influence on actual business practice.
Which begs this question, why? Why is it so persistent if it's not ideal for today's world?
That's a huge question. Dr. Ravier touches on a couple of things. He references Cloak and Goldsmith's work, The End of Management.
Okay.
They suggested that the big pushback against authoritarianism after World War II, actually perhaps unintentionally, opened the door to questioning that top-down management style. It created space for ideas like self-management to grow.
So a sort of societal shift helped.
It planted seeds. But Dr. Ravier identifies a major hurdle, something he calls cognitive myopia.
Cognitive myopia. Like nearsightedness in thinking.
Kind of. The idea is that the very success of the old industrial models makes it hard for people managers and employees alike to really see or fully grasp what the new paradigm, like self-management, actually requires.
Because the old way worked before. It delivered results, so why change?
Precisely. It's like, trying to navigate a new city using an old map. Just because that map works so well in your hometown, it blinds you to the new layout.
That makes sense. It's hard to let go of what's familiar, especially if it was successful. Does he bring in other thinkers here?
Oh, yes. He definitely credits Douglas McGregor.
Theory X and Theory Y.
Absolutely. McGregor's work is presented as really foundational for understanding this shift. The difference between assuming people need to be forced and controlled theory X, versus assuming people can be self-directed and find work-fulfilling theory Y.
And theory Y aligns much better with self-management, obviously.
It's the underpinning, really. And Dr. Ravier's core message here is that this whole evolution, moving towards self-management, isn't just about changing structures or processes. It fundamentally requires individuals to change their mindset.
It has to start internally.
Yes. Without that shift in individual thinking, trying to adapt the whole organization to new competitive realities, new efficiency demands, it's almost impossible.
Okay, so we've got these historical eras, the lingering industrial mindset, the need for a mental shift towards self-management. But then Dr. Ravier adds a twist, right? He challenges the era distinction itself, doesn't he?
He does, and this is where I think his argument gets really unique. While he sees the value in frameworks like Covey's eras, he pushes back a little on the idea that, say, the hunter-gatherer or agricultural eras were somehow not based on knowledge.
So he's saying knowledge wasn't exclusive to the knowledge worker era.
Essentially, yes.
Huh.
He argues that the defining feature of knowledge, its very essence, is that it's creative. It's about our human capacity for what he calls tacit integration.
Tacit integration.
Sort of like synthesizing different bits of information, experience, intuition, into a new insight or a new way of doing something, that spark of connection.
Okay.
And Dr. Ravier's big claim is that this human creativity, this capacity for tacit integration, has always been the fundamental source of productivity gains, right from the very beginning.
Not just in the modern era, but all the way back.
All the way back. He uses this great thought experiment to illustrate it.
Let's hear it.
Imagine a prehistoric human, right? Their basic resource is just their body. Then they have, say, a dangerous encounter with a bear.
Okay, not good.
Not good at all. But then, maybe in the aftermath, or recalling it, they see a rock. And suddenly there's this flash of insight that rock could be useful. It could be a tool, maybe even a weapon against the bear next time.
Ah, the realization.
Yes! Dr. Ravier frames that moment not just as finding an object, but as a profoundly creative act. It's a mental integration connecting the problem, bear, with a potential solution, rock, in a new way.
And that's the start of technology, essentially.
That's his point. That initial creative leap then leads to more creativity sharpening the stone, figuring out how to attach a handle. It's all driven by that initial creative spark, that tacit integration.
So he sees creativity, not just muscle or instinct, as key even then.
Exactly. He argues it wasn't just about reacting, it was about creatively applying the mind. And he extends this to the agricultural revolution, too.
How so?
Developing farming techniques, domesticating animals. These weren't just random discoveries. They involved observation, experimentation, integrating knowledge about seasons, plants, animal behavior. It required immense creativity to figure all that out and gain more control over nature.
It paints a different picture than just assuming people stumbled onto farming.
It does. It emphasizes the mental work, the creative problem-solving involved. And then he uses another vivid comparison to show the clash between these paradigms.
Okay.
He asks you to imagine that hunter-gatherer whose whole mindset is geared towards the immediate efficiency of finding the next meal.
Right. Gotta hunt now.
Suddenly observing a farmer, someone patiently planting seeds, weeding, tending animals, working for a harvest months away.
The hunter would probably think the farmer's wasting time, right? Not being efficient today.
Probably. Their operational mindsets are completely different. The hunter can't easily grasp the farmer's long-term investment logic, and maybe the farmer sees the hunter as reckless or lacking foresight.
It really highlights how deep these paradigm differences run. It's not just different jobs. It's different ways of seeing the world and valuing effort.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ravier's point is, this isn't just ancient history. He argues we see echoes of this today.
How?
That industrial era mindset focused on immediate, measurable, controllable outputs. It still exists alongside these newer, more knowledge-based, self-managed approaches, and they often clash within organizations, leading to conflicts about the right way to be productive or efficient.
So different paradigms coexisting, sometimes uncomfortably.
Exactly, which leads to Dr. Ravier's kind of ultimate conclusion in this part of his argument.
Which is?
That maybe instead of thinking about distinct eras like industrial or knowledge, it's more accurate to view all of human history as fundamentally one single era.
One era. What defines it then?
The era of human creativity.
Okay. So creativity is the constant thread.
That's his thesis. Our innate human creative power is what drives technological progress. And then technology, which is itself a product of our creativity, acts as a tool to liberate more of our creative potential.
So it's a cycle. Creativity leads to tech, tech enables more creativity.
A continuous self-reinforcing cycle. That's the engine he sees running throughout history, not something that's suddenly switched on with computers.
And that challenges that common fear about technology, doesn't it? The idea that it dehumanizes us or makes us obsolete.
He directly tackles that. Dr. Ravier completely flips that narrative. He argues technology doesn't stifle our humanity. It actually liberates what is most essentially human, our creative capacity.
Because the tech handles the routine stuff, freeing us up for the creative thinking.
Partly that, but also that the tech itself is an expression of our creativity and allows us to express it in new and more powerful ways. He even suggests that because technology is born from creativity, our creative potential could actually grow at the same kind of exponential rate we see in technological advancement.
Wow, that's quite an optimistic take. Technology as an amplifier of our core human ability.
It is. It places human ingenuity right back at the center, not as something being replaced, but as the enduring source of all these advancements. It's a really powerful reframing, I think.
It definitely is. It shifts the focus from the specific era to the underlying human driver.
Right. The constant is our ability to creatively integrate and innovate.
Well, that gives us a lot to think about. We've covered quite a bit there, from Covey's eras and the industrial mindset hangover to the need for mental shifts, and landing on Dr. Ravier's central argument about enduring human creativity.
It really sets the stage for understanding his concept of self-management, seeing it not just as a technique, but as aligning with this fundamental creative capacity.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of this particular exploration within The Outsider Edge. We've unpacked Dr. Ravier's perspective on creativity and paradigms from this key chapter in self-management.
We hope you found this look into his ideas insightful.
Please join us next time as we continue our journey with The Outsider Edge, moving deeper into Dr. Ravier's self-management by exploring the very next chapter. See you then.